We're back to reading, guys. So we will do Cambridge 19 again. Hang on, I have some notifications. Okay. People are coming in. So this is what we call the PDF file. We will click on that. And there we are, Cambridge 19. Okay. Just as a reminder for everyone, we began Cambridge 19 with test 1. There. We scored reading passage 1. We scored 1 mistake. And then reading passage 2, we scored 0 mistakes. And then reading passage 3, we scored 0 mistakes. So in total for test 1, we only had 1 mistake. So that is a band 9. So now we will be doing test 2. Okay, so let me go back to this one. So where is test 2? Oh, writing. Maybe we should do this next. I want to do that next. Okay. Oh, wow. I love this topic. Competition versus cooperation. And then there's the speaking test. Describe a law that was introduced in your country. Okay. So this is now test 2. But that's for the listening test. So we will scroll down over to the reading test. There it is, the Industrial Revolution in Britain. Oh, beautiful. Did you know that the Industrial Revolution began in the UK? There. They are the ones who initiated, who pioneered the Industrial Revolution. So I will open another tab, guys, over here of Cambridge 19 again. So I will click on this a second time. There. Okay, so we now have 2 copies. 2 copies of the same material. Then, so what I will do, I will drag this second tab outside, drag it outside of the browser, so to speak. So I'm gonna drag it here, guys, drag it outside there. Okay, so now we have 2 browsers. So the first tab is over here. That will be a reading passage. Let's move that somewhere in the center there. And then the second tab, okay, I think we can make this slightly bigger. There. And this second tab is going to contain the questions. Oh, it begins with 1 word only. That's the easiest. Okay, there. So steam power, textile industry, iron industry, communications, urbanization. And then it ends with true, false, not given. Okay. Ellen, we're gonna murder this test.
Okay.
You're gonna score perfect, Ellen.
Yes, I'm here, teacher.
we will score a perfect 9. Okay.
Uh,
So we will time ourselves, guys. We should finish this task in 20 minutes because there will be two other reading passages after this at 20 minutes each. So that will total 1 hour. Okay, June, do you want to place a bet? June,
Hi, teacher. Hello.
do you want to place a bet? Do you want to bet? I bet I will perfect this test.
Uh-huh. Okay, the score, right?
Yeah, I won't score a single mistake.
A band nine. A band nine.
A bad 9. Okay.
Mm.
How much are you willing to bet? Uh, $50.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm just kidding,
Okay.
June.
That's
Just kidding.
yeah.
Okay. So we will begin with the time there. Okay. So like what we usually do, we do not read the reading passage yet. We go straight to the questions right away. Saves us a lot of time, guys. So I saw the heading of steam power there, and then the textile industry. We will just need to look for these keywords, guys, because the answers are there in the iron industry, communications, and urbanization. Wow, okay. People began moving into cities. Okay, so the first keyword is steam power. So let me look for that here, guys. So, uh, steam power. There, did you see that, guys? I saw it right away. Skimming, that's what you call skimming. Just look at the surface. So, the answer here, guys, in 1 and 2 is found here. All right? So, you don't really have to read so much. Just read one paragraph at a time, guys. So the foundations of the IR date back to the early 1700s when the English inventor Thomas Newcomen designed the first modern steam engine called the atmospheric steam engine, used in mines to remove water. Newcomen's invention was originally used to power machines that pump water out of mines. In the 1760s, the Scottish engineer James Watt started to adapt one of Newcomen's models and succeeded in making it far more efficient. Watt later worked with the English manufacturer Matthew Boulton to invent a new steam engine driven by both the forward and backward strokes of the piston, while the gear mechanism it was connected to produced rotary motion. It was a key innovation that would allow steam power to spread across British industries. So in Watt and Bolton steam engine, the movement of I think it's the piston. See, guys, linked to a gear system. See, it's piston. I'm just gonna write P, okay, guys? But make sure to write the complete answer. Piston. A greater supply of blank was required to power steam engine. I think the answer is coal, but I'm not sure. The demand for coal, which was relatively cheap energy source, grew rapidly during the IR, as it was needed to run not only the factories used to produce manufactured goods, but also steam powered transportation. So it's coal that is being burned. Uh, so that's certainly a coal. And in the early 1800s, the English engineer Richard Treveltick, see, they're all English guys. These Brits built a steam-powered locomotive. And by 1830, goods and passengers were being transported between the industrial centers of Manchester and Liverpool. That's West west of the island. In addition, steam-powered boats and ships were widely used to carry goods across Britain's canals, as well as across the Atlantic. So we're now looking for the textile industry. There it is. Britain had produced textiles like wool, linen, and cotton for hundreds of years, but prior to the IR, the British textile business was a true cottage industry, with the work performed in small workshops or even homes by individual spinners, weavers, and dyers. Uh, Small workshops, guys. Worked at home and in workshops. Uh, I think the answer there is workshops, guys, and even homes. See, don't forget the S, guys. Put the S there, okay? Workshops. Not as much was needed to produce cloth once a spinning jenny and power loom were invented. Let's look for the Jenny. Jenny, 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 Jenny. Like Jenny, 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 Jenny. Starting in the mid 1700s, innovation like the spinning jenny and the power loom made weaving cloth and spinning yarn and thread much easier. With these machines, relatively little labor was required to produce cloth. So not as much labor, guys, is the answer. Make sure to spell it the British way, guys. Labor. And the new mechanized textile factories that opened around the country were quickly able to meet customer demand for cloth, both at home and abroad. We're now moving on to the iron industry. Oh, so many industries have been transformed. The British iron industry also underwent major change as it adopted new innovations. Chief among the new techniques was the smelting of iron ore with coke, a material made by heating coal instead of traditional charcoal. This method was cheaper and produced metals that were of higher quality, enabling Britain's iron and steel production to expand in response to demand created by the Napoleonic Wars. Wow, that's Napoleon versus all of Europe. Does anybody know who beat Napoleon, guys? What country beat Napoleon? Does anybody know?
Waterloo,
Yeah,
Haiti,
Waterloo. Napoleon was finally defeated in Waterloo
and
in
Haiti also.
Belgium.
Mhm.
And his opponent was what nationality? 1815.
England,
His opponent was British.
British, yeah.
I forgot the name of the opponent. Well, I remember Napoleon, but not the guy who defeated him. Okay, let's Google it later. Okay, so smelting of iron ore we call resulted in a material that was better made. Smelting of iron ore with coke, material made by heating coal. This method was cheaper, produced metals that were of quality is the answer, guys. Better quality, yeah. Demand for iron increased and with the growth of the railways is the answer, guys. Remember, it's one word only from the 1830s. Yeah, you needed tracks, right, for the rails. Okay, communications. Where is that? There. The latter part of the IR also saw key advances in communication methods as people increasingly saw the need to communicate efficiently over long distances. In 1837, British inventors William Cooke and Charles Wheatstone patented, again, guys, these Brits, it's all Brits, patented the first commercial telegraphy system. There. Oh, there are no questions here, guys. To prevent. Oh. In the 1830s, Samuel Morse and other inventors worked on their own versions in the US. Cook and Wheatstone system was soon used for railway signaling in the UK as the speed of the new locomotives increased. It was essential to have a fast and effective means of avoiding collisions. And we're finally in urbanization. The impact of the IR on people's lives was immense. Although many people in Britain had begun moving to the cities from rural areas before the IR, this accelerated dramatically with industrialization. Yeah, we moved from farming to manufacturing, guys. From the farmland to the factory, as the rise of large factories turned smaller towns into major cities in just a few decades. This rapid urbanization brought significant challenges as overcrowded cities suffered from pollution and inadequate sanitation. The new were crowded and lacked sufficient sanitation, I believe, is the answer, guys. Sanitation is my answer. We have two more paragraphs to go, guys, and plus the fact that we haven't read the first paragraph. Okay. Okay, let's now go to true, false, not given. Britain's canal network grew rapidly so that more goods could be transported around the country. Where's the canal network? Uh, I think we skipped it, guys. Canal is over here. William Cook and Charles Wheatstone. Where's the canal? I think we're talking about there. See, the canals were there, guys. Grew rapidly so that more goods could be transported around the country. The answer is just here, guys. In addition, steam-powered boats and ships were widely used to carry goods along Britain's canals as well as across the Atlantic to the USA. I don't think it was given. Built a steam-powered locomotive by 1830 were being transported in Iran. In addition, steam-powered boats and ships were widely used to carry goods along British canals. I don't think it was given, guys. The canal network, I don't think it was mentioned. Not given. Tentative answer, guys, tentative. Make sure to spell it completely, guys. Don't write it as NG, okay? Spell it as not given. I did not see any mention of the canal network being expanded. Cost in the iron industry rose when the smelting of iron ore with coke was introduced. Was it in there? Chief amount of smelting of iron coal with coke, a material made by this method was cheaper. See, false. Cheaper, not more expensive. So make sure to write it as false, okay, guys? Not the way I wrote it. Samuel Morse's communication system was more reliable than that developed. I don't think it was mentioned, guys. Worked on their own versions. Cook and Wheatstone system was soon used after the railway signaling as the speed of the. I don't think it was mentioned that the Morse code was better. It wasn't mentioned. See, in the 1830s and 40s, Samuel Morse worked on their own versions in the US. No, it wasn't mentioned that it was better. The economic benefits of industry were limited to certain sectors of society. I think that's another false. Oh my God, where's the true answer? See, the impact of on people's lives was immense. Although many people have pretended, yeah, this is the rise turned in, yeah. Let's try to read the next paragraph, guys. Oh, there's the economic something there, economic something. Although industrialization increased a country's economic output overall, improved the standard of living for the middle and upper classes, many poor people continued to struggle. Wow, that's terrible. I think this looks like a true, guys. Factory workers had to work long hours in dangerous conditions for extremely low wages. Come on, Britain. These conditions, along with the rapid pace of change, fueled opposition to industrialization. A group of British workers who became known as the Luddites were British weavers and textile workers who objected to the increased use of mechanized looms and knitting frames. Many had spent years learning their craft and they feared that unskilled machine operators were robbing them of their livelihood. A few desperate weavers began breaking into factories and smashing textile machines. They called themselves Luddites after Ned Ludd, a young apprentice who was rumored to have wrecked a textile machine in 1779. So it's a
Is it the
true.
true?
It looks like
True.
it must be a true, guys, because
Yes,
we already have a not given, two not givens, and a false. It's
it
time for the
is.
truth to come out there. Okay, guys. Oh, come on. Why did you have to manipulate? Oh, nothing has really changed, right, guys? It's still the laborers
Mm-hmm.
who are struggling. Come on. We need another revolution. We need a laborer revolution after the industrial revolution. And then some skilled weavers believe that the introduction of the new textile machines could lead to job losses. I think that's another true. Many had spent years and they feared that unskilled were robbing them of their livelihood. That's another true, guys. And there was some sympathy among local people for the Luddites who were arrested near Huddersfield. The first major instance of machine breaking took place in 1811 in the city of Nottingham. In the practice soon, the Brits began breaking machines. They hate the machines. And the practice soon spread across the machine breaking. Luddites attacked and burned factories. Wow! Let's burn the factories, man. And in some cases, they even exchanged gunfire. Wow, it's a revolution. Okay, the workers wanted employers to stop installing new machinery, but the British government responded to uprisings by making they made machine breaking punishable by death. That's too much, Britain. The unrest finally reached its peak in 1812 when a few Luddites were shot during an attack on the mill near Huddersfield. Come on, people. In the days that followed, other Luddites were arrested, dozens were hanged. Hanged? Come on, Britain, that's so barbaric. Or transported to Australia. That's terrible. By 1813, the Luddite resistance had all but vanished. I don't think it was mentioned, guys. There was some sympathy among local people.
Mm-mm.
Okay, terrible, terrible. That's really a terrible period in Britain's history. So, guys, I'm so concerned. We had three not givens. One of these must be false. Wait. The workers wanted employers, but yeah, it doesn't mention really, guys. Uh, it really doesn't mention it. And this one is really a not given. It's gonna grow rapidly so that more goods could be transported. Let me take a look back at the canal. Uh, Steam-powered boats and ships were widely used to carry goods along British canals. It really doesn't say, guys. That's really how it is. It's not balanced. There are three not given answers and one false answer. So, how many minutes did that take us? 17 minutes? Oh, come on. This is like the IELTS revolution. This is the IELTS revolution. And then, so let me Google first, guys. I really need to know who was the general who defeated Napoleon in Waterloo. Who's that British general? His name was the Duke of Wellington. Who is the Duke of Wellington? Uh, what's his name? I want his name. 1815 marked the end of Napoleon's 100 days return from exile. Uh, Arthur Wellesley. Okay, guys. See, people don't remember the name of these guys. They only know Napoleon Bonaparte Wellesley. Okay. First, he's the one, guys. That's his name. Field Marshal Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington there. The man who defeated Napoleon. But nobody remembers him anymore. People only remember Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte. And how long was the Napoleonic Wars there? How long did it take? Uh, 12 years, 1803 to 1815, right smack in the middle of the Industrial Revolution, guys. There, so, whoa, history. Okay, it's time for us to check, guys. Okay, there's no time really to know. These were really true answers. See, very true. Okay, that's how it goes, guys. There's really just one false answer. So, test two, there it is. Not given, not given, not given. Oh, perfect. Take that, Napoleon. Not given, false, not given, true, true, not given. That's really how the pattern is, guys. There's really only one. Oh my God, did I get this right? Sanitation. We got that right. And then railways. So may take note. There's an S, guys. Let's go back to that, okay? Those S's. Be careful of those S's. And quality is there. And then labor. Oh, you can spell it the American way, guys. And workshops with the S. Remember? Coal and piston. Let's go back to the rail. Oh, guys, it is optional. You can spell it with the S or without the S. Okay? See, there's a parenthesis. There's a parenthesis. See, so come on, Isles. Please make it a challenge for us, man. Okay. So that's why Britain was such a superpower, right, guys? They were a superpower. This was before the rise of the United States. Okay. Superpower. That's why the labor movement is so strong in Britain, guys. I think that's a net result of the the fact that the Industrial Revolution. Wait, let's read this, guys. The IR began in Britain in the mid 1700s, and by the 1830s and 40s had spread to many parts of the world, including the United States. In Britain, it was a period when a largely rural agrarian society was transformed into an industrialized urban one. Goods that had once been crafted by hand started to be mass produced by machines in factories there. Thanks to the invention of steam power and the introduction of new machines and manufacturing techniques in textiles, iron making, and other industries. Okay, that's why we have nurses. That's why, right, Jeb? That's why there is a welder, right, Jeb? There, JB is one of the welders. Okay, so we're gonna just make a screenshot, guys, there. Okay, let's stop the recording. Stop the recording first, guys. There.